Welcome to Eternal Flame, the Chronicles of Ancient India. In this channel, we present stories from the ancient past, stories that have stood the test of time and have often shown the light to our seekers over thousands of years. In this series, we present tales from the Mahabharata, tales that support the main story. Versions of these stories can be found in several Puranas, sometimes in more or less detail and often with some differences, as can be seen in the telling of the story of Shakuntala or the Ramayana of Markandeya, for example. For the purpose of this series, we've gone purely by how they appear in the Mahabharata. These stories have been narrated by various wise men in the Mahabharata in different contexts, sometimes to satisfy the curiosity of others, often to make a point, and almost always to dispel the darkness of ignorance by offering enlightenment. We hope you enjoy what follows.
In the Golden Age, Prajapati Daksht had two beautiful daughters named Kadru and Vinata. In time, they became the wives of the great sage Kashyap. The sage was powerful and had the ability to grant boons. His wives made him so happy that he offered each one of them a boon. Kadru wished to have 1,000 mighty Nagas for her sons, and Vinata wanted to have two sons who would surpass the 1,000 sons of Kadru in energy, size, and power. Kashyap then decided to perform a great sacrifice from desire of offspring. The Celestials all helped the great Kashyap. Indra and the Valakilya ascetics were appointed to get the sacrificial fuel. The powerful Indra was strong, and he was easily be able to lift up huge trunks that he carried back to Kashyap. On the way, he saw the weak and emaciated Valakilya ascetics, all of whom were struggling to carry one thin stalk of wood. Proud Indra laughed and derided the rishis. He made a condescending remarks and left them behind, passing over their heads. The ascetics felt insulted and filled with rage and sorrow. They prepared a great sacrifice with the intention to create another Indra, one who would strike terror into the heart of the current Indra, one who was capable of going anywhere at will and mustering any amount of energy. Alarmed, Indra saw the protection of Kashyap. Kashyap pleaded with the Valakilyas on behalf of Indra. He explained that the current Indra was created by Brahma for a purpose. Creating another Indra would be contrary to Brahma's intentions. He suggested they forgive Indra and channelize their energies into bringing forth an Indra of all the winged creatures instead. The Valakilyas explained to Kashyap that this sacrifice was for a new, more powerful Indra. But since it would also help him to get children, they were willing to leave this matter into his hands. They asked Kashyap to do as he saw fit. Kashyap then finished his sacrifice and went on to Vinita. He assured her that his sacrifice was now complete, and by the penance of the Valakilyas, she could now look forward to two mighty sons. These sons would be lords of all winged creatures, would be respected in all worlds, and would be capable of assuming any form. Vinata was delighted. She looked forward to her two mighty sons. After a long time, Kadru got 1,000 eggs, and Vinata got 2. After many years, the 1,000 eggs of Kadru hatched, and the powerful Nagas emerged. But the eggs of Vinata remained as they were. Her twins did not appear. Disappointed and jealous, Vinata broke one of the eggs to see what had happened to her twins. She found inside a partially developed child, undersized and weak from the waist down. The child became angry at his mother's impatience and cursed her. Because you have prematurely broken this egg, you will serve as a slave. If you wait and don't break the other egg out of impatience, the illustrious child within it will deliver you from slavery. If you want the child to be powerful, you have to take good care of the egg till it matures, however long it may take. Cursing the mother, the child rose to the sky. One day, the two sisters, Vinata and Kadru, were talking to each other when they happened to see the divine horse Uchai Shravas. This horse was of unparalleled heavenly beauty, with unmatched grace, perpetual youth, and irresistible vigor. This horse was a masterpiece of creation. As the sisters looked at the horse in awe, Kadru asked Vinita, "Tell me, Vinita, what color is this beautiful horse?" All could see the horse was magnificent bright white. Vinata replied, "This prince of horse is pure white. What do you think, sister? Would you like to lay a wager on it?" Kadru said, "I think the horse has a black tail. I will be happy to wager that the tail is black. Bet with me that whoever loses will become the other's slave." Confirming the wager, the sisters went home, agreeing to examine the horse closely the next day. Kadru had a plan. Bent on deception, she ordered her 1,000 sons to transform themselves into black hair and cover the horse's tail. Her sons refused to do her bidding. In anger, she cursed her sons, saying, "During the snake sacrifice of King Janamejaya of Hastinapur, Agni, with his blazing fire, will consume all of you." The worried Nagas discussed their situation with each other. They felt that if their mother lost the wager, she would withdraw her affection for them and burn them all. But if they helped her and did her bidding, she might free them from the curse. They decided to do their mother's bidding. The next day, upon sunrise, the two sisters, Kadru and Vinita, hurried to view and examine the celestial horse closely. They went up to the magnificent white horse. They went close to him and could now see that his body was pure white, just like the moonlight. They then looked at his tail. Vineta was surprised to find the tail now looked black. They could see many black hair on the pure white horse. Vineta was deeply dejected. Having lost the wager, Vineta was put into slavery by her sister Kadru. The curse of her son had come true. Vinata, now a slave of Kadru, awaited the birth of her second twin. She took good care of the egg. One day, when the time came, the child burst forth from the egg. A mighty winged being of great splendor emerged, whose brilliance spread all over the universe. This child was endued with supreme strength, capable of taking any form it will, of going anywhere at will, and summoning to himself any amount of energy. Of luster equal to fire, his eyes shone like lightning flashes. As soon as he was born, he grew in size, assuming a gigantic proportion. He flew to the skies, roaring fiercely, looking like an ocean of fire. All the celestial beings, terrified, sought the protection of Agni Deva. They thought this terrible energy came from Agni, ready to consume the world. They pleaded with Agni Deva, "Mighty Agni Deva, do not exert yourself so. Are you going to consume us? Is it time for destruction? Look, your flames are growing and spreading wide. Please help us." Agni replied, "I assure you, my fellow beings, it is not as you imagine. This is not me. This is the mighty son of Kashyap and Vinita, born with great strength and unlimited energy, whose mind equaled in splendor. His mere sight has caused this delusion in all of you. He is the son of Kashyap. He is born to be the destroyer of the Nagas. Do not be afraid of him. Come with me and see for yourselves. The Celestials followed Agni and went closer to the gigantic creature. They were still wary. From a distance, they addressed the mighty bird, saying, "Best of birds, Lord of all, you are the son of the merciful and high-souled sage Kashyap. We request you to have mercy on the universe. You are supreme. Calm your anger and protect us." At your voice, like the roar of thunder, the skies, the heavens, the earth, and our hearts are trembling. At your fearful sight, our hearts lose all composure and shudder in terror. Lord of the birds, we pray for your kindness. Grant us good fortune and joy. Hearing the pleas of the Celestials, the bird said, "Let no creature be afraid. As my terrible form strikes fear within you, I will diminish my energy." So saying, the mighty lord of the birds reduced his energy and splendor. He then found his brother Arun, and carrying him on his back, arrived at his brother's side across the great ocean. Since the churning of the ocean, Rahu conceived an enmity towards the Devas, Surya, and Soma, and often tried to devour them. Surya was upset and angry. He felt that his enmity with Rahu had sprung from his desire to help the Devas. His actions had greatly benefited the Devas, but he bore the consequences alone. No one came to help him. Before their very eyes of all the Devas, he would be devoured and they would do nothing. In anger, he decided to strive for the destruction of the world. And with this resolution in mind, he went to the mountains of the west. From there, he began to radiate heat for the destruction of the world. The great rishis, with grave concern, approached the Deva, saying, "What is this intense heat spreading in the middle of the night, striking terror in the hearts of all? It looks like the destruction of the world is near." The Devas had no answers. Along with the rishis, they approached the grandsire Brahma. They said, "Grandsire, please enlighten us. What is this great heat today that causes such panic? Surya has not yet risen. The destruction of the world seems obvious. What will happen if Surya does not rise?" Brahma said, "Indeed, Surya is preparing to rise today for the destruction of the world. As soon as he rises, he will burn everything to ashes." As he saw panic in the faces around him, he continued, "Don't worry. I have already provided the remedy beforehand." The intelligent first son of Kashyap, called Arun, is huge of body and of great splendor. He shall stay in front of Surya as his charioteer and absorb all the energy of Surya. This will ensure the welfare of all worlds. Just when Surya was about to rise to destroy the worlds, the mighty brother of Arun carried him on his back and placed him in the eastern regions. Arun, of great splendor, then absorbed all the destructive energy of Surya. Arun did what the grandsire Brahma ordained, and Surya rose, veiled by Arun, ensuring the protection of all worlds.
This is the story of the events leading up to the birth of the mighty Garuda as it appears in the Mahabharata. We hope you enjoyed viewing and listening to this as much as we enjoyed making it. Look out for the other episodes in this series of Chronicles of Ancient India in our humble attempt to keep the eternal flame burning. Thank you.